There's nothing like being in the green room. I'm talking about like where we are now, like in the green room. And one day I'm going to have green on. She has red, I have blue. I mean, there's no green going on. But here's what I do know. Christine McKay will change your life if you let her. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to read a bio because I don't even like reading bios, as you know. But I will do this, Christine. Take a few minutes and tell us, who is Christine McKay and what are you up to these days?
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much, Shay, for having me. I really appreciate it. Very excited to be here. So, I am Christine McKay, as you already said. I am a global negotiation strategist and the CEO and founder of Venn Negotiation. And what have I been up to? Oh my gosh, things have been crazy. So, I am about finished with my first book. I'm launching a podcast. I launched a public speaking business the first week of COVID. So I've just been crazy, just getting programs developed and operational and doing all that good stuff and writing my book and getting my podcast going. So.
I love it. Writing a book, getting your podcast going. I mean, so much cool stuff going on. Now, you mentioned what you're doing since COVID got started, which is really
Mhm.
cool, by the way. Take a moment, if you would. This is a question I've been asking over and over again because I've been curious, and listeners love this, by the way, which is, what type of conversation have you and your colleagues been having? Like, I know there's one conversation that took place back on March 10th, I believe it was, when things turned over, I should say. And then there's a conversation taking place now, almost 6 months later, that's a little different. So, what type of conversation have you been having with your colleagues, and how have you been staying encouraged?
Yeah, so it's at the beginning, it was actually for me, I'm more of an introvert. And so I think that initially COVID was kind of an introvert's dream. And so the people that I know who kind of are also introverts, we were like, this isn't such a bad thing. We're okay working from home. The working on Zoom is okay. But we really started seeing our extroverted colleagues really struggling, really having a hard time because they really connect more on that personal interaction basis. But even over time, I've actually started to see a little bit of a switch. Those of us who were okay with it in the beginning are now getting a little more fatigued by it and really wanting to have more interaction. And I see some of the extroverts, while some of them are still really, really needing to be around people, I'm also seeing some of them adapt a little bit and be a little more okay with being at home and not sure how they're going to go back to not being okay. So it's interesting to see how we've all kind of changed roles a little bit. We're walking a little bit in each other's shoes on kind of how we're handling it. So.
So, we talk about walking in shoes and how we're handling things. Take a moment, if you would. I know you picked this topic, the art
Mhm.
of negotiation, or negotiate like a pro. For those folks that are tuning in now, the entrepreneurs that are out there, and even the dads or the moms or the single
Yep.
parents that are out there right now, why is this topic more important now than ever before?
So I had a conversation last week with somebody, and they actually made a comment to me that when they hear the word negotiation, they automatically think of attorneys. And my response back was, negotiation is all about relationship. And every one of us have relationships that we manage, that we deal with, that we negotiate every day. And we also negotiate with ourselves. That's the most important negotiation, and that's the first step of any negotiation, is negotiating with yourself and figuring out, having that debate within the two parts of these two things on the side of your head and what's going on in there to make sure that you know what you're going to ask for, because if you don't, then you're not going to get it. So it's really, negotiation is about relationship. And for me, I'm really passionate about it because it's about empowering entrepreneurs and small businesses to take ownership of their businesses and their lives and be intentional about how they're putting themselves out there and asking for more of what they want out of life and not just settling because somebody gave them something.
Wow. Now, I know you're going to get into the details. I mean, we're like behind the scenes, okay? So we're in the green screen. So you and I can have this frank, how can I say this, honest conversation, which you are. You're a very honest person. What do you say to the person not Shay Brown, but the person that's thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, I'm not trying to be a villain. I mean, I want to learn how to negotiate, but do I have to be sleazy? Do I have to be some person that comes busting in with a hammer? Do I have to be that person that has to make it like you got to do it my way or no way? Suppose that's just not me. Would I be to benefit from this type of conversation? Because it seems like negotiation is like someone just has to beat the other person up, beat them down, and they'll do what
Yeah,
you say.
so the best negotiators do not do that. The best negotiators, like I said, I mean, it's not so. Negotiation, like I said, is a relationship, and if you're going into a relationship and you're always trying to beat somebody down, that's going to be a pretty short-term relationship, because after a certain amount of time, they're going to get tired of that. It's going to become an abusive relationship, and that's not fun for anybody, and so that's not going to last. So yeah, you have those people who negotiate, and I do a lot of work around negotiation styles, and we are all of the different styles, but we tend to default to one style more than the others. And one of the styles is, I call them a champion, and they are all about winning at all cost, and they are the kind of people that you are talking about. But that's not every negotiator. That's not even most negotiators. And so one of the things, especially in the United States, and it's slightly different. It's fairly common in most of the westernized world, but different cultures have different approaches to negotiation. And some negotiation styles are very much about building more goodwill, building more value, finding ways to make a bigger pie, and not fighting over a finite amount, negotiating from a position of abundance versus a position of scarcity. The individual that you just described is negotiating from a position of scarcity because they think they have to beat you up in order to win, and that's not a negotiator. So that's just somebody who's a bully.
So there is a such thing as a win-win situation for Eric Swanson. Mr. Awesome is out there watching right now. That's cheering you on. Deborah Gardner, my good friend out there in Phoenix, Arizona, is watching right now. Dorian Branch is out there. Carol, I see you. Jason, my man, you're in for a treat, by the way. For those folks that are tuning in, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get started, and then we come back. We're going to talk about this whole thing of negotiate like a pro. I'm going to ask her at least give us 3 ways that we can negotiate. Now, maybe she has a 4th way. I don't know, but we'll find out. I'm going to say, how can we negotiate? Like, how can we do this? What can we do, the average person? Don't worry. I'm going to answer that question when we get started in. Hey, what's up? What's up, Samantha? Good to see you. We get started in 5. This is my favorite part. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's showtime. Almost.
Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Well, it's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you will call to serve. And I believe you have 3 visions, by the way. We were talking about this in the green room. I believe you have 3 visions. I believe first, you have a vision for yourself. We were talking about water. Some of you want to drink real fancy water, by the way. We're talking about water. So for the water you want to drink, the organic food that you want to eat, the clothes that you want to wear, and it takes revenue, which means it takes resources, or it takes resources, which means it takes revenue. I believe you have a second vision, by the way. You have a vision for your loved ones. And I'm blessed right now. Mother, 73 years old, just recently celebrated her 73rd birthday, right? And I'm blessed to be here in San Antonio right now with the in-laws. I'm blessed. And so some of you have family that you want to make sure are taken care of. Some of you have kids you want to send to a school of their choice. Some of you want to write a check for someone's health care insurance. I was talking to someone recently and they said, Shay, I just want me to write a check for this cause that I really believe in. That means it takes revenue as a business owner in order for you to purchase and write a check for those resources. And then the third vision I believe you have is you have a vision for the people. And that's probably the most important for a lot of you entrepreneurs. Those people, those ones that you were called to serve, right? And I want you to imagine for a moment, one of my favorite things to talk about is Noah. And imagine you're Noah in the Bible and you've got this vision. And right before you get started, there's a knock at the door. You're like, excuse me, pardon me, what's going on? Excuse me, Noah, over here. Yes, what's happening? Over here. I'm sorry to report, but there are no hammers in the house. No hammers, no worries, no big deals. It's not a big deal. What's going on now? No, over here, pardon me. Yes. There are no nails either. Got it. No hammer, no nails. Thank y'all for reporting. We'll figure this out. What's going on? No, I might as well confess why I'm here too. We ain't got no people and there's no wood. Good luck. I'm out. And you're like, oh man, that's some of you out there right now. You need to negotiate your way to get someone to work for you. You need to negotiate your way to make sure that you get the best type of arrangement when you're working with contractors. Some of you got to negotiate with yourself, by the way, and make sure you do the things you're supposed to do. And then others of you, you got to negotiate with your clients to make sure everyone walks away in a win-win situation. So I couldn't think of a better person in a better time, at a better place to bring you those resources than the one and only Christine McKay. So what's up, Christine? How are you?
Hello, Shay. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it is an honor and a privilege, a treat and a treasure to hang out. Now, I first saw this thing called Negotiate Like a Pro. I was thinking, can the average person, Shay Brown, who went to DC public schools, who went to an HBCU, Morgan State, doesn't have a law degree, can someone like me really learn these negotiation tactics? Is that even possible that the average entrepreneur can learn this stuff? And if so, why or how?
Yes, because I'm pretty average too in some regards. I started when I started learning how to negotiate. I was an pregnant teenage woman living in the back of my car and decided I needed a different life. And so I negotiated one. And, so first of all, it was negotiating with myself. Then it was figuring out what resources were available. Well, first it was figuring out what did I want to do? Being able to articulate what that was and figuring out the language to articulate what I wanted. And then it was figuring out, once I knew what I wanted to do, then figuring out the steps I needed to do to make it happen. And then asking for help, and how I asked mattered. And then making sure I got what I said I was that what people said they were gonna give me, or that I was giving what I said I was gonna give. So negotiation is innate. Every single person is an excellent negotiator. We start negotiating when we're little kids. I mean, if you have kids, and I have 3 daughters, they're all much older now, but when they were little, it's like, oh my gosh, they absolutely knew how to negotiate. One more than the other 2, and they all had different styles, but they all knew how to get what it was that they wanted. And what happens is when we're little, we start hearing this short little word. So we start asking for things, and we hear this word no. And it starts to imprint itself on our brain. And so we convince ourselves that if we ask for something, we're going to get told no. And so we don't ask. We stop asking after a time because we become afraid of hearing that word. But in reality, if you look at all the things you've asked for in your life, you have more wins in your life than you do no's. You have more yeses in your life than you have had no's. And it's those yeses that have gotten you to where you're at because you knew what to ask for, you had greater clarity, and you knew how to ask for it, and you knew how to make sure you were getting it.
One thing that I admire about you, Crystal Cunningham's out there saying, look at you, congrats for the shift of your life, by the way. She's out there watching.
Thank
Cheryl Graham is out there. What's up, Cheryl Graham? She's out there in California, by the way. She's tuned in right now. I see Teresa's on there as well. They're listening. And, before we get into the heart, this whole negotiate like a pro, one of the things I saw is that you teach people how to negotiate even accounts payable, right? Now I'm like, oh my gosh, is that even possible? So I thought to myself, before we get into all the wonderful things you do and how great you are, if you're an entrepreneur right now, and some people have to make phone calls to negotiate their mortgage payment. This is very serious, I guess. I shouldn't laugh. People have negotiated to make sure their family is taken care of right now.
Absolutely.
And they may have to negotiate with bills that they couldn't pay for, very legitimate reasons. Before we get into negotiating, can you talk about the mindset? Because for some folks, when they got to make that call, and I've had to make that call a number of times, many times in my life, you feel depressed. You feel like, oh my gosh, can't pay my bills. I'm all alone. You start beating yourself up. So you kind of say, can y'all do anything for me? And that may be to all of y'all out there. So what's my question? My question is, can you share with us how you can negotiate with accounts payable for us entrepreneurs? Like, give us an idea or a tip or two. I'm just curious.
Sure. I mean, the first thing, so when you're negotiating, so like an accounts payable, so you're asking about from a business perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
So the first thing is understanding why you need to renegotiate. So that's actually called renegotiation. You have an agreement, whether it's formal or informal, with somebody you owe money to, right? Maybe it's a supplier or a landlord or whatever. And so you have an agreement in place. Formal or informal. So formal, written contract that a lawyer usually writes. Informal, it's on a piece of paper, it's a handshake or back of an envelope, back of a napkin. And you have to know why you need to renegotiate. What's driving it? And it has to be something more, in today's environment, it needs to be something more than it's COVID. So there's different types of drivers for the need to renegotiate in business. One is cash flow. So you could be having a cash flow issue, but you could be also having a profitability issue. You could have a situation where your operations are being affected. You could have a situation where your strategy is at risk. Or you could, in 20%, so only 1 of 5 of those is legal. You could have a legal reason that you need to renegotiate and do that. In an accounts payable situation, it's usually because you have a cash flow or a profitability. I had a client a number of years ago who they produced like coffee mugs, product merchandise with logos on it. And one of their largest customers was Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola was taking 180 days to pay their bill. And this client's other customer sectors were in the technology area. It was the .com era, and the bubble was bursting. And so those customers were drying up. And so they had less revenue coming in from their largest industry sector, and then they had this very large company that just wasn't paying. So we entered into a negotiation where we adjusted a whole lot of things around how we shipped things, kind of product mix, and a number of different things in order to get that liability to kind of move that payment earlier so they could have cash flow. And then I have another client where they owed $1.25 million in a liability, and we negotiated that and reduced it by 73% because we focused on profitability and the need to make adjustments in the relationship today so that the client could be around for the long term. And we completely changed the product mix. We extended the term of the contract, and we were not only did that deal successfully keep that company in business and help them survive a really bad situation, but they survived for 7 more years and sold for $123 million to a Fortune 50 company. And when I was working with them, they had less than 20 employees.
Wow. So for the entrepreneurs listening now, and you were to give 3 ways or 3 steps that someone needs to do or to understand to be able to negotiate like a pro, and you were giving some of your best ideas. And what would idea number 1? And for those folks that are watching right now, I'm sure that Christine will be okay with this. You go and pay this message forward. You can hit the share button. You can hit the watch party button. Like, hit the share button right now. Hit the watch party button right now. There's someone out there that may be watching, that may be listening, they may be thinking to themselves, you know what? This is exactly what I need. Like, what are the ideas? She's not going to teach you how to try to trick someone. She didn't say that because I did ask. She's not going to teach you how to twist someone's arm and make them do something that they really don't want to do. I did ask in the green room. I said, "Are you going to share some of these cool techniques?" She says, "No, Shay, it's not about that." I said, "Okay, cool." So you can pay this forward, knowing that she's going to give you the best ideas she knows on how you can operate from a place of honesty, a place of integrity, and a place of transparent. And isn't that what you want at the end of the day? So hit the watch party, hit the share button, and pay this message forward. All right, Christine McKay, give us one idea, one step.
Know what you want.
Okay.
So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they are not clear in what they want. And so they'll think about a negotiation in terms of money.
Mm-hmm.
They think about it as something that's tangible. But the majority of things that we negotiate aren't tangible. Now, they can maybe be valued at some point, but your ability to get product on time, your ability to have your customer service issues addressed quickly and in a pleasant manner, your ability to expand, your ability to have a quality relationship with the people that you're doing business with, those are intangibles, but they matter. If you have a terrible relationship with a counterpart, that could cost you money in the end, because you might not enjoy working with them, and you might decide you're going to switch suppliers because they're not nice people to work with, and that can get expensive. So if you believe in having a relationship for a lifetime, whether it's a customer or supplier or an investor even, then you want to make sure that you can clearly articulate what it is that you want, because your counterparts can't read your mind. So you need to do that. And that's a huge mistake. Even if you're like buying a car, what are the things that you want out of that negotiation? Write them down, and then write, why do you want them? Why are they important? And what's their priority? Because that's how you start to figure out what your trade-offs are in your negotiation. If timely delivery is important, is it more important than quality of service? It could be. It depends on your situation. And you could have two people negotiating to buy the same product or service from the exact same person and have two completely different objectives, and it'll be totally different negotiations because their priorities are different. And so that's one thing, is know what it is that you want.
Okay, so everyone write down step number one, know what you want. Okay, before I go to step number 2, what's the biggest challenge holding the entrepreneurs back from even wanting to negotiate? Is it just mindset? Is it just belief that we don't have the skill set? Or is it just the whole negotiate word that gets us a little stunned? What's your belief one of the challenges that entrepreneurs have today, even negotiating?
So negotiation falls into the same category as public speaking. So it's considered a social phobia. And we don't practice it as often as, we don't think we're practicing it as often as we are. Going back to what I said earlier, we have more yeses in our life than we have nos. But because we focus on the nos, we tell ourselves that we just don't have that experience. And we also don't have people teaching us how we negotiate. We don't have people talking to us and showing us the different negotiation styles and how they work in different situations. We don't put ourselves in situations where we're practicing negotiation. And practicing negotiation is not going to your coffee shop, your local coffee shop, walking in and say, "Give me a 10% discount." That is not a negotiation. I just want to be clear. No, that is not.
That's funny.
I had that conversation with somebody, and just the other day, I was like, no, that is not a negotiation. A negotiation is something where there's a mutual benefit. And if somebody's selling something to you, you demanding a discount doesn't benefit him, that shop owner, him or her. It doesn't benefit that shop owner necessarily, because that 10%, the cost of that 10% is higher for that shop owner because other costs have stayed the same. So you're really taking money out of and in the United States at least, we do not have a culture of haggling. That's not our culture in most areas of business in the United States. So when I have somebody say to me, "Yeah, I walked into the pizza joint with some of my buddies, and we got a 20 we negotiated to get 20% discount," I'm like, "No, no, don't do that. Just don't."
I love that. I love that. All right.
That's
So
just rude. That's just
what's
rude.
you can't do that. That is rude. What is step number 2? You gave step number 1 was to know what you want. I asked the question, what are 3 steps or 3 things that
Yep.
the everyday entrepreneur like me and many of you watching, something that you can do, that you can take away from Christine McKay, who's breaking it down for us, how to negotiate like a pro, the best tips for entrepreneurs.
So step number 2 is, now that you know what you want, now you have to ask for it.
That's always the hard part.
And that is the hardest part. That is the part where we just trip ourselves up all the time. And we kind of trip ourselves up at 2 different levels. One is the initial ask. And some people are better at asking for what they want than others. Absolutely. And we all have seen that. We all know people who are much better at asking for what they want. But the other thing is asking for help in terms of when a deal isn't working for you, and going back to your counterpart and asking to renegotiate. So you kind of have the ask that goes with a negotiation, and then the ask that goes with a renegotiation. And they're both very important. And how you ask for something matters. So your communication style matters. Your negotiation style matters. If you are that person who is, really happy to beat up the pizza shop owner to get a 20% discount, and you go, "Yeah, I won," that's a very specific negotiation style that I call a champion style. And that style cares about winning at all costs. And negotiation is, it's a battle. And they go into the negotiation armed and armored. And they feel like they win when they pretty much annihilate their opponent. And so that is a style, that is an absolute negotiation style. And about 10% of negotiators fall into that camp. And we all know those people. But the thing is that style is not a winning style unless you are in a single issue haggling situation. And so if you are that style, you want to be very, very careful when you use it, because it has long-term negative effects on your relationship, and your reputation will precede you, and people will not want to do business with you, or they'll charge you more money because you're a pain in the neck to work with. So you've got to be really careful with that. But then you have other styles, like a benefactor who cares a lot about the relationship, and they'll agree to things that are not necessarily in their best interest because they feel that they need to in order to preserve a relationship. They'll sometimes agree to things, though, that they can't deliver, and that ends up hurting the relationship in the long term anyway, so they got to be careful with that. And then you have people who do checklists, and it's like, okay, I've got 10 things, I got 8 out of my 10. Woohoo, I got an 80% on the test. But the reality is the 2 things they didn't get may have had a lot more value than all the 8 things they did. But because they go point by point by point, they miss value. And then you have an ambassador that is really all about kind of figuring out how to make a bigger pie. So you need to know what to ask for, and you need to ask, but you have to ask for it in a way that makes sense to you and to your counterpart and to the situation at hand. Not all of these styles. We are all of these styles. We all use them all the time. It's just that we tend to default to more than the other, and you have to be aware of how to use them and when to use them. So that's one of the things that we do a lot and we teach a lot, is how to use these styles, and we push people out of their comfort zone to practice each of the different styles, which is it's very fun to watch people who are champions try to be benefactors.
Yeah. So is there a predominant style and then a secondary style? I mean, would I be a different negotiation style when I'm doing business, which is probably 90% of people watching now are doing business? Would my style be different than when I'm with the family, if I can say it like that, or with my kids? Or is one style pretty much the same? Is there a primary and a secondary? I'm just curious.
So it can be situational, but there are absolutely characteristics that are kind of pervasive across all aspects of our relationships, that we tend to default to one of the styles more than the other. But like I said, we are all of the styles. We do use all of the styles. And so we can absolutely make adjustments. And so some people are better at dividing or separating how they behave in a professional environment versus what they do in their personal environment. Right now, I think one of the challenges that people are having, especially people who are good, like my husband is really good at separating his work world from his personal world. Well, he used to be before the pandemic, right? Now his work world and his personal world, we're all just kind of one big salad, one big, we're minestrone soup is what we are. Just kind of throw the kitchen sink in and it's
Yeah.
what you got. But and so I mean I think that's as individuals, one of the important things in negotiation is giving people when you're thinking about how you ask somebody for something, giving people the space to actually think about what that means for them at the moment when you're asking is important, and how that request is going to be interpreted by the person that you're asking. And it is
Can you
important.
give us an example of that? Okay, so I think you said when you ask for something, give the person time to meditate. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it's so one of the exercises that I like to do is I'll have a group of people together and I'll have one person ask a question. So if we were in a group, maybe I would ask a question, or I'd probably have you ask the question. But so I ask the question, and then I cannot speak for 30 seconds.
Wow.
30 seconds. You cannot say a word. Now, people are sitting on their hands. People are at the edge of their seat. They are leaned all the way in across the table. Some people are freaking out at 10 seconds. They're like, you can see it. Their mouth is starting to move and they just want to dive in. The thing is that when we ask something, if we're not receptive to understanding how that request is being received, then we miss opportunities to create additional value or to ask something in a way that kind of moves all of us forward more easily and more readily. And so listening with intent is hugely important. So you can ask, if you ask something but you're not willing to listen, then you've gained absolutely nothing. And what a lot of people do is they'll ask a question and they'll have already anticipated what the response is. They're already thinking about their response to their counterparts, what their anticipated response is. And they're completely wrong. They miss the boat many, many times. And that's why having that exercise is really eye-opening for people. And so to all the listeners I would encourage you to just take a test drive and see how it feels in a group of people to ask a question and not try to fill the space and contribute to the conversation, but just listen to what is being said in response to your question.
Wow, that would be very, very hard. Very hard. All right, you gave us point number 1, which was to know what you want. You gave us point number 2, which is understand your style. I think, is that right?
Yep, and ask, know how
And
to
ask. Yeah, know
Yes.
how to ask based on the style.
Yeah.
And give us point number. What's the third idea that you can give us on how to negotiate like a pro?
The third is make sure you get what you said you were getting, what you were told you were going to be getting, and make sure you give what you said you were going to give. Yeah. So in other words, you need to document things. And documenting is not like a formal contract. So, a lot of small business owners do not use formal contracts. But there are often times when you use sales orders, purchase orders. You may have operating documents that you use that you can share, an email that lays out what you've agreed to, what the process is, if how do you deal with a conflict. And so making sure you document to give yourself both kind of a roadmap for how the relationship is going to work. Because at the end of the day, we negotiate right now based on what we believe the future is going to look like. right? So it's a hope. A contract is formal or informal. They're documents of hope, essentially, which I'm sure my attorney friends who, if they're listening, are laughing their heads off right now. They're like, "Who the heck ever said a contract was a document of hope?" Christine McKay did right here on the Happy Network. If that's not a Happy Network comment, and a happy entrepreneur comment, I don't know what is. But no, I believe that it's like because you enter into agreement, you have the belief that there's mutual benefit to being in an agreement and being in a relationship because you anticipate that the future is going to be brighter because of this relationship.
Yeah.
And so if you're not clear about what that is supposed to look like, when things when a problem arises, when somebody has a bad day, and as Zig Ziglar tells that kick the dog story from eons ago.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? It's like when you run into a pole or you get a speeding ticket and you come in and you're mad and you say something that you wish you hadn't said. How do you make sure that what you said you're going to do, you're doing, and vice versa? And so having something documented just gives you a roadmap to work for. Because a lot of times we get into relationships, and it's like we do that when we get, not, you don't have to be married to do this, but I've been married to my amazing husband for 27 years, and we entered into a contract. Right. Well, let me tell you, the terms of the contract have changed a lot over 27 years. The deal we signed initially is not necessarily the deal we have right now. Right. So if we take that same concept and we apply it to our business relationships, we're going to have the ability to have a lot stronger relationships over time.
Man, I love it. You're the only person I know that can take negotiating and make it fun, by the way. You have a way of doing that, which is like super incredible, like really cool, man. Look, one of our core values here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show, one of our core values is today is my January 1st. And today is my January 1st. For those folks who know what I'm about to do, you can look right below the video. You can write today is my January 1st. And today is my January 1st. For those folks that are hearing it for the first time, it represents one of those dates, not you look for a January 1st date on the calendar, you create a January 1st moment. And a January 1st moment, there's about 1,000 moments throughout the day. And any one of those moments, you make a decision. That decision can forever change the trajectory of your life. So you make a decision that you're going to work out, or you make a decision you're going to sit back and binge watch right now. That's a January 1st moment. You make a decision that you're going to eat hamburgers and french fries, maybe salt, pepper. I like to say that, and some hot sauce, by the way. Ketchup. Or you're going to go, you got to have that, some chili. Or you open up the refrigerator, and there's some kale inside, and there's some broccoli inside, there's some Brussels sprouts. That's a January 1st moment. So it's a do-over. It's a fresh start. It's your past doesn't equal the future. As my father would say, Che, your future is spotless. You create the future. So my question to you, as you hear those words, today is my January 1st, and they're writing those words right now. What does that mean to you, Christine McKay? What goes through your mind?
Well, I've had a few January 1sts, but the first major one is the one that changed my life, and that was the day I met this woman named Roxanne Yukon, and God rest her soul. She's an amazing woman, and she met me right after I quit living in the back of my car. So I was about 6 months pregnant with my oldest daughter. I'd lost over 20 pounds in my first 2 trimesters because I didn't have an address, so I couldn't get assistance. And I was too proud to go to other resources, and I was in Montana at the time. And so I just finished, I figured out, I found a job at McDonald's, and I was able to move out of my car in and become and take care of a sorority house for the summer. And I met Roxanne, and she is a very, very religious woman, very, very deep faith. And she sat me down one night, and she gave me a piece of paper and a marker. And she said, draw a picture and just imagine God in the center and then write down 4 things that you are going to pray to him for. And I remember one thing that I wrote on the list. I don't remember all 4, but I remember one. I remember the one that I know for certain happened. And that was my January 1st, because it was the moment that I realized that I had a level of control over my life. It took me 10 years to realize that January 1st. But to this date, the day that my 3 daughters, who were in 8th, 7th, and 6th grades, walked across stage in front of me to get little teddy bears that had HBS letters across the little teddy bear chest, right in front of me, right before I earned my MBA from Harvard University. So I went from living in the back of my 1972 Chrysler Newport to graduating from Harvard University. And Roxanne Yukin, and I'm getting emotional. So
Yeah, serious.
yeah. So but yeah. So she was amazing, and she gave me that.
Man, well, it's a blessing. Thank you so much for sharing that with the audience and being authentic. I know that wasn't what you were
Sorry
planning on
about that.
doing. No, it's fine. It's fine. We certainly appreciate that, and I know they want to know what was one of the driving ideas, or maybe one of the philosophies that she instilled in you that allowed you to accomplish that and be able to go not only finish from Harvard University, but go on to raise your daughters and now give back to society. So if there was one idea that, a philosophy that she gave you, other than what you shared with us, what else kind of goes to your mind right now that you could share with the audience? There might be someone out there right now that's watching that's going through a very difficult time right now, a very challenging time. And if you're out there right now, you can pay this message forward. You don't have to hold this to yourself. You can hit the share button. You can hit the watch party button, and you can pay this message forward. You can bless someone else so they too can not only bounce back, but they can go do exactly what Christine McKay is doing, is go out there and continue to change their lives for entrepreneurs every single day. So what's one idea that you got from her? Because today is your January 1st, and for you watching out there, today's your January 1st as well.
So put your goals in concrete and your plans in sand. So the things that you want, hold on to them tenaciously. Your dreams, your goals, guard them carefully, because people will come and try to steal them away and take them away and tell you that you're not worthy, that you don't deserve it. You're going to tell yourself that you're not worthy. You will tell yourself you don't deserve it, but hold on to your dreams tenaciously and know and have faith that the path that you think is going to get you there is not likely the path. It is like sand at the ocean. It's like the wave comes up, you're going, you're walking, the wave comes up and it knocks you down. And you get back up because you're focused on that goal. And the goal's right out there. You can see it. And you just constantly, I got knocked back about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now, and I got knocked down for over a year, but you get back up because it's important. It's important for me to be here sharing these things with you guys, because I've just been so blessed in my life, and it would be just, I don't know. The only word I can say is irresponsible for me not to share some of the things that I've learned, and hope and pray that you guys are able to come through whatever challenges that you're coming through. But putting your goals in concrete and your plans in sand has been a motto that I have lived by since I met Roxanne.
How can the audience connect with you? A two-part question first, as you're talking right now. What type of customers do you work with today? So if someone's listening right now, they might say, "Oh, well, she's a good fit for me," or they may know someone that you're a good fit for. And then number two, how can they best stay in a conversation with you? How can they best stay connected with you?
So I kind of have 2 different aspects of my business. So one is an educational component. So I work with entrepreneurs and small business owners and individuals who are wanting to improve their negotiation skills, who want to get even better at asking for what they want and who want to learn how the tools and the techniques for how to get that. So how to do that. So we have programs that we use to do that. So that's one kind of part of our business. And then I work with small business owners who have negotiations that they're in the middle of, that they're struggling with. And we coach them through those negotiations. Sometimes we do the negotiation on their behalf, but we are not attorneys. We're business professionals, and we focus on the business aspect of the negotiation. And so we work with small businesses. I have a number of clients right now. We're working in renegotiating real estate leases, supply chain deals with different suppliers and some customers who are having accounts payables issues. And so those are really kind of the two groups that I work with. And the best way I actually have a gift for the audience, for anyone who wants it, to go deeper into kind of some of the key elements that create successful negotiations. So the gift is my brain just left me. I hate that. My mother says that'll keep happening more and more with every passing day. But we have a document. I don't know. I'm calling it a document. That's not what it is. We have a thing that will give you kind of the 7 key elements of being a successful negotiator, because there are just a number of things that people are not aware of that they do or don't do, that we kind of help you think through and give you some different ways of thinking through negotiation and make it so that it's not quite as scary as it is for some people. So.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We're now entering into what we call our rapid fire segment. And I'm going to encourage all of you, one, to connect with Christine McKay, number 1. Number 2, get the gift. Even if it's not for you, pay it for it. Like take the and pay it for it.
I need to tell you how to do that, though.
You just know how to do it? I thought okay, I missed that. Sorry.
If you text VENN, VENN zone, all one word, VENN zone, to 26786, you'll get our free gift on the 7 key elements of successful negotiating.
Okay, tell them one more time.
So text VENN zone, VENN ZONE. So Venn is in the Venn diagram, to 26786.
Text it right now. Okay, I love that. Venn zone. I love it. I love it. Okay, as they're doing that now, take a moment as we go into the rapid fire segment. That means I get to ask any question I want. You can answer it or you can decline. You can negotiate. You can negotiate if you want to. But in all seriousness, the question I ask everyone is my favorite question to ask, which is, of all the success ideas you've learned in this journey of life, and you've learned at least 10,000 plus ideas with so many more to learn, what's your number 1 key to success?
Wow, I love that question. And I keep getting torn with multiple answers because there are just so many different things. But I think the number 1 key for me is being able to serve people. I feel like I'm on a mission. I'm so passionate about helping small businesses and entrepreneurs level the playing field and find more success when they're growing and building their business, especially when they're negotiating with companies and individuals who they think have more power or influence than they do. And so I'm on this mission. And so for me, it's really about serving people, and that it's not about me. It's about helping other people. Wow. That's really key.
What do you enjoy most about what you're doing now?
I love meeting like amazing people like you, Shay. I've met some just remarkable people on my journey so far. And, like I said earlier, I just started all kind of doing all this, the public speaking and being on people's podcasts and all that. I'm starting my own podcast too. And so I'm just like so excited about about that journey and all these people, amazing people that I have met who've influenced me and made me a better person, and my having an ability to touch their lives too. There's
Amazing.
really no greater thing. And I think the other thing too is the greatest gift that anyone can give me is letting me have a window into them when they're doing what they love to do. There's just no more amazing thing than watching somebody do what they love to do. And I'm getting to see that. And even now, even in this pandemic, I'm seeing people and surrounded by people who love what they do. And it just excites me and makes me motivated every day.
Ah, wow. Second to last question. What does Christine McKay do for fun? We're not out saving the world, by the way, negotiating these deals. What do you negotiate for fun?
Oh, I love to read. I'm a voracious reader. I love to cook. My husband and I, we do a dance in the kitchen. We just love cooking. And then we like road trips. I mean, my husband and I and my 32-year-old daughter just poured into the car for our anniversary, which was the 3rd of July, and we just drove from Los Angeles to Oregon to get pizza.
Oh my
and we
goodness.
and we love doing that kind of stuff. We love that. We have so much fun. Take all 3 of our dogs and just have a great time. So
Oh, that is so cool. Well, first, let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. You have a heart to give. You have a heart to serve. You're teaching something that's really needed. I mean, it's not one of those ones people jump up and down and clap and shout on, negotiate like a pro, right? You don't get like super
no,
excited about it. You do. You get like geeky over the top.
I
You know, all of them get to smile. Yes, we're going to talk about this. Ask me another question. I'm like, wow, she's really into this. Like she really she eats and breathes and sleeps this stuff. Come on now. But it's important. So I appreciate you. You know, one of the things I know that you can always make more money. I believe that. As a matter of fact, every single one of you out there, you all can make more money, but none of us, myself or Christine, can make more time. So Christine, you're giving us the most precious gift you have, which is your time. We thank you for that. Can't wait to have you back on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. You're a rock star, and I'll have you back soon. I know you agreed to. Sometimes they don't, but you agreed to give your final thoughts and your final comments. So before you do that, at least tell them once again how they can connect with you. So make sure they know how to do that. And then number 2, any closing thoughts you have for those folks that these lights are going to go off and they may
yes.
find themselves in a conversation. Hopefully it won't be with their little one. I got a son. I know how that goes, right? Negotiate to brush your teeth. Maybe it's going to be a real negotiation, a big contract deal. Whatever it may be, you can take these tips. You can know what you want. You can make sure that you understand your style, how you're going to ask. And more importantly, you can walk away with what you want. It's possible. And Christine has walked us through that. So Christine, go ahead if you would. Share your final thoughts.
So how to reach me again?
Yes.
If you text Then Zone to 26786, or as Melanie McSally just threw across and texted me, you can also go to my website, which is thennegotiation.com. So that's 3 N's, no S. So thennegotiation.com. And final thoughts. And the hardest thing about negotiating is that we are afraid to ask, where we convince ourselves over and over and over again that we're not worthy of what we want, that somehow if we ask for what we want, then somebody is going to think less of us. And I would just encourage you to have faith that you are worth what you want. You deserve what you want. And put your goals in concrete and your plans in sand and believe that you can achieve it. And, you know, whether it's you're negotiating to buy a car or a house, or whether you're haggling with your son to get him to brush his teeth, or whether you're negotiating $1 million contract with a customer for the first time, or you need to renegotiate a deal, the worst thing that somebody's going to say is no. And it's 2 letters, and yes is 3, and that's a bigger word and has more importance and more power. So don't let no deter you from anything. Ask in a different way.
I love it. I love it. With that being said, I want you to know, thank you again for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Thank every single one of you who watch. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for hitting the share button. Thank you for just showing up. We appreciate you. And I want you to know that for you, you've got greatness inside you. For you, you're awesome. And for you, the best is still yet to come. Why? Because you know how to negotiate and ask for what you want. The best is still yet to come. Why? Because you really can learn your negotiation style. You got to connect with her now to understand your negotiation style so you can ask the right way. And for you, today is your January 1st. I know it's a fresh start. I know the best is yet to come. With that being said, for those folks that are curious, who's making all that noise over there, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is long. Life, on the other hand, is very, very short. You've got to live in the moment. You got to make it count. God bless, and I wish you success. Thanks a lot, Christine. You're a rock star.
Thank you,
I'll see
Shay.
you
You're
soon.
amazing.
Bye.
Thank you.
See y'all later. Peace. We out of
Cheers.
here.
That's the promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Check.
Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Man.
Got money on my mind, I can never
Man.
get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause all I do is win, win, win. If you doing it, put your hands.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless.